On January 3rd, 2017, Donald Trump tweeted, "The intelligence briefing on so-called Russian hacking was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange." The immediate response from everybody who hated Donald Trump was that he was working for the Russians. Stop tweeting, Trump. You're embarrassing yourself. Now it turns out, due to text messages that got released, Trump was right about FBI's scramble to assemble Russian evidence after 2016 win. Texts claim it's well beyond just some FBI agent saying Trump was right about this, but the general story, it goes really, well, it's far and wide. I can't begin to break this down from the top to the bottom because the Obamagate scandal is so intricate and complicated. It makes it very difficult for me to get all of the information in just 20 to 30 minutes. But I got a bunch of stories for you. And this is a shocking bombshell. I typically don't say the word bombshell. You know me. Milquetoast fence sitter, right? But of course, we've got all of this information coming out right now today is shocking. And let me just give you a quick snippet, and then we'll start reading through this. First of all, FBI agent says Trump was right about them scrambling to find evidence. They had no case against Trump, yet we went through years of Russiagate nonsense. FBI official on Mueller team said Flynn prosecution had, quote, get Trump attitude. Collusion probe was not there. FBI official William Barnett was assigned to lead the Bureau's original investigation into Michael Flynn. We have this story. Flynn case bombshell. FBI analysts bought insurance, fearing they'd be sued for misconduct. It just keeps coming. Donald Trump's campaign has issued a statement on this. Of course, Trump has said treason. Adam Schiff is now revealing new whistleblower information, once again pushing the lie about Russian interference. And we have this breaking news from Catherine Herridge of CBS. The primary subsource for the Steele dossier was deemed a possible national security threat, the subject of a 2009 FBI counter-intel probe. According to new records, those facts were known to Crossfire Hurricane Team in December 2016. This is beyond shocking. The FBI knew that the information they were getting was sourced from someone who was deemed a national security threat, a possible national security threat. They knew this. They knew they had bad information. They were out to get Trump, and they were pushing fringe conspiracy theories. And it was so bad that some FBI analysts, bought insurance. So what does this mean for this country? Is Donald Trump right about treason? You know, this is really tough. If you come out and say, this is it, we have the proof, they'll smear you, a fringe conspiracy theorist. Where's the New York Times? Where's the groundbreaking Shatterstorm? The news reports Donald Trump framed by FBI. FBI analysts were panicking, buying insurance. Well, at least Newsweek is reporting on it to a certain degree. I think this shows us the Durham report may bear fruit. Will it result in widespread arrests? I don't know. But I think there will be an October surprise. Donald Trump is going to get a plethora of information revealing just how dirty the past administration was. And all of this information is shocking. We learned not that long ago that Barack Obama was in a room with Biden, with Comey, with Sally Yates, many top officials. And they were trying to figure out how to essentially frame Michael Flynn, Donald Trump's then national security advisor. We're in serious trouble as a country. And I think it's crazy when I bring these stories up and you also consider the political violence and people would tell me there's no civil war coming. Take a look at the mail-in ballots being found in ditches, being found in the gutter. The mail-in ballot change and Facebook lying to people. This is scary, man. This is really, really scary. And I don't know how else to explain it, but let's just start by reading the news. I wish I could give you the full breakdown, but that's going to require a 3-hour-long documentary. I'll do the best I can with this current information. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are many ways you can give. I've got a P.O. box. If you'd like to send stuff, the best thing you can do, share this video. The only mainstream sources talking about this aren't going into great depth. Of course, Fox News they're pretty much mainstream media, but they're not in lockstep with the other. And you know what I mean? They're more right-leaning. Many people are shocked Newsweek even covered this. Politico, of course, just kind of downplays the story. Look at this. Feds air FBI agents' gripes about Flynn probe. Are you kidding? They knew that their source was possibly a national security threat, and they used that information to go after a sitting president duly elected. That's crazy. And that's only the surface. I am reading you the news right now. You need an in-depth breakdown of how dirty all of this was. So the best I can say is if you think this is important and this information is as shocking to you as it is to me, and you think I'm deserving of it, please share this video to help support the channel. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's read the first story from Newsweek. They say Trump was right about FBI scramble to assemble Russia evidence after 2016 win, texts claim. An FBI employee involved in the probe into former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn claimed that President Donald Trump was right while discussing a 2017 intelligence briefing regarding the Russia probe, according to a court filing. The federal court documents filed by Michael Flynn's lawyers in the U.S. District Court of Columbia on Thursday included text message conversations between FBI staffers about former President Barack Obama's intelligence briefing on January 5th, 2017. One unnamed FBI employee asked another, "What's the word on how Obama's briefing went?" Quote, "Don't know, but people here are scrambling for info to support certain things, and it's a madhouse. Trump was right. Still not put together. Why do we do this to ourselves? What is wrong with these people?" Yes, going as far to say that some of these people wanted a Clinton administration. Tell me how that's not a coup attempt. Tell me how we are not in the midst of a civil war where the previous administration is the nominee, Joe Biden, and the Democrats are changing the rules at the last minute. I can't even believe I'm allowed to say these things on YouTube, but I'm reading you Newsweek. This stuff's scary, man. Let's just keep reading. After Obama's briefing, the then president asked Vice President Joe Biden and FBI Director James Comey to stay behind. That's Obama, along with Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates and National Security Advisor Susan Rice for a discussion about Flynn, then a Trump campaign advisor. The details of what took place during the meeting has been intensely speculated and debated by both sides of the political aisle. On January 3rd, 2017, President Trump tweeted a suggestion. That was what I showed initially, that they were trying to essentially dig up information. According to Rice and Yates, Obama was concerned over whether restrictions should be placed on the sharing of classified information with Flynn, the incoming national security advisor. At the time, he was being probed by the FBI as part of the Russia investigation, which started in July 2016. In testimony before the Senate on August 5th, Yates said under oath that Obama and Biden never attempted to influence the FBI's investigation of Flynn. During the meeting, the president, the vice president, the national security advisor did not attempt to in any way to direct or influence any investigation. Flynn's lawyers shared additional text messages by an FBI employee on January 10th, 2017, saying that analysts all went and purchased professional liability insurance because they were worried the whole thing is pretty ugly. Quote, "I think the concern when we got it was that there was a big leak at DOJ and the NYT, the New York Times, among others, was going to do a piece," the employee wrote. "If that piece comes out and January 20th comes around, the new AG might have some questions, then yada, yada, we all get screwed." They knew it. They knew it. The FBI agents and analysts, they knew it. They bought insurance to protect themselves. They knew it was dirty. They knew it wasn't on the level. Now, the Obama administration is trying to claim they didn't do anything. They didn't influence anything. They're standing back. Yet, according to evidence that was previously released, it looks as though Joe Biden himself suggested using the Logan Act against Michael Flynn. This is crazy stuff. Just wait. October is around the corner. If you think it's spicy now, I think an October surprise is coming, and it is going to shock the core of this nation. I will warn you, however, as much as this story is it really is shocking. Don't get your hopes up. Do not get your hopes up. We all saw how that played out for the left when they were betting everything on Russiagate. Nothing came of it. This could be another one of these stories. Just another trail of breadcrumbs that leads nowhere, but we'll see. Federal employees at all levels often face allegations, complaints, and investigations that carry risk of exposure to liability. And those that deal with the public face the most exposure. But let me stress, these people literally bought insurance saying we're going to get screwed. If the story leaks, if the AG finds out what's going on, the new administration. I said this about a year ago, that Russiagate stopped Donald Trump from firing many of these people who worked for the FBI, the CIA, etc. And I wonder if that was the intent based on what we're seeing now. You see, when Donald Trump fired Comey, they accused him of obstruction of justice. Why? Well, because Comey was investigating him. Can you imagine what that means? Can you realize what that means? That you need only accuse someone and they can't fire you and they're your boss? What does that mean for the presidency? They were trying to stop Donald Trump by any means necessary. And they're doing it again. I honestly, I maybe know 1 in 10 people who says they're voting for Biden. And my family and my friends and the people I grew up with are Chicago liberals. They are not far left. They are not conservative, and they hate Republicans. Yet only 1 in 10 saying they're going to vote for Biden. Yet they're telling us now that Joe Biden's going to win. I am terrified what happens to this country if Joe Biden and the Democrats, with everything they've done, win. You know why? It wasn't Donald Trump who changed the rules of the election, but they're accusing him of trying to stage a coup, of trying to steal the election. Donald Trump didn't change the rules. The mail-in ballot idea was Democrats. They're the ones trying to strip the integrity from our elections. If Joe Biden wins, I don't think regular Americans are going to accept that based on what we've seen with mail-in voting, and that scares me. Newsweek published this story. Newsweek. I could be a little bit more bold and say, this proves it. An FBI agent coming out saying, we were worried. Let me read more. Quote, even in cases of baseless claims, legal fees, damages, and other costs may run in the hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, placing employees and their families' financial security at risk, wrote Federal Times, a source of information for senior U.S. government managers. Fortunately, federal employees can protect themselves and preemptively mitigate the risk through federal employee professional liability insurance. They say Flynn served as Trump's national security advisor for 24 days before he resigned. In 2017, he pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. And we learned that they threatened his son, that Michael Flynn didn't do anything wrong. It is shocking and terrifying. The left will tell you that he lied to the FBI and he pleaded guilty twice, they'll say. The story with Michael Flynn was that as the incoming national security advisor, he made a phone call to, I believe it was the Russian ambassador Kislyak, and just said, please don't escalate tensions between the U.S. and Russia. That was it. That was his job. He was going to be transitioning into a new role as national security advisor. But I remember someone from the Obama administration saying the reason they got alerted to the threat of Russian collusion was that Michael Flynn thought China was a bigger threat. That was their pretext. This story is not just about the FBI. I've talked to friends about it, and they say this shows the FBI framed Trump. And I said, you mean the FBI and elected Democrats who lied about how they've seen the evidence of collusion, who are still trying to bring up Russia? Adam Schiff. September 9th, Schiff reveals new whistleblower complaint alleging suppression of Russian election interference. Intel reports, quote, we've received a whistleblower complaint alleging DHS suppressed intel reports on Russian election interference. Elected Democrats were pushing this, supporting this, and they supposedly had access to the intel. And they had all of these people on TV, all of these former intelligence agents and individuals and journalists saying, we know it, we've seen the proof, Trump did it. So why isn't he being arrested? The resistance would say it's all going to come out with the Mueller probe. People posting pictures of a smiling, shining Robert Mueller, the Mueller podcast. What was it? It was like Mueller, she wrote, or something like that. And they're like, Robert Mueller is going to take down Donald Trump. These people are nuts. It sounds like a coup attempt. When they say that these people wanted a Clinton administration, when these FBI agents were like, this is crazy, this is not on the level, Trump is right, It sounds like there were people at the FBI that knew they were setting up and framing the Trump campaign. We know from Politico that Ukrainian interests provided dirt on Paul Manafort, resulting in his arrest and conviction. Now, if the guy did something wrong, sure. But this was a political maneuver. I am really worried about what comes next. You know, people talk about civil war. We've been in one since 2016. Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't resign during the Obama administration because she thought Hillary Clinton would appoint her successor. They all thought Hillary would win. Why would they think that? Ignorance, ego, arrogance? Or was it because they've been playing dirty games the whole time like they are now? They're pulling out every stop. Think about how psychotic this story is from The Atlantic. Donald Trump called troops losers. Are you kidding? That is so over the top ridiculous. Donald Trump's a lot of things. I'm not going to buy it. You could show me a recording and I'd say manipulated. I don't believe it. You're not going to convince me. Unless Donald Trump, I see him in person say it. Because it's one thing for a lefty activist and for someone to call troops losers. But for Donald Trump, the president and regular person who and just seems to love the troops, why would he say that? But all of these stories are coming out now claiming that he's disparaging Latinos. He's disparaging the black community. It's absolutely fake news as far as I can tell. Because Trump is a lot of things, but they've turned him into a cartoon villain. You see, the problem is they've started believing their own lies about him. And so when they believe these ridiculous stories about Trump, they end up trying to, when they try to fabricate smears, or just maybe they'll just blindly believe the smears, the people who make them up, be it the journalists or anybody who knows, they go for a more extreme approach. Because in their minds, Trump is the worst of the worst. So they're like, how can we make Trump seem even, crazier than he is? And so they say he called soldiers losers. Regular people then hear that and they go, what? I don't believe that. Donald Trump, he's a Republican. Who would say that? Take a look at this from Catherine Herridge. The primary subsource for the Steele dossier was deemed a possible national security threat and the subject of a 2009 FBI counter intel probe. According to new records, those facts were known to Crossfire Hurricane. That means Crossfire Hurricane was the team investigating Russian collusion. They knew that their information was coming from somebody who was trying to harm the United States. Or I'm sorry, a possible individual who was a threat to our security. The Steele dossier was loaded with Russian propaganda and fake news. We know that. We have more confirmation. And they took that and tried to use it to jam up, to sabotage a duly elected president. When they march around saying by any means necessary, when they march around saying revolution, nothing less, they mean it. So what are we supposed to do about this? How are we supposed to get this resolved? How are we supposed to challenge the lies? I can talk about it, and I can't even scratch the surface on how deep this goes. But I don't know what a regular person can do. We have a statement from the Trump campaign. The Trump campaign has said this. These new revelations about the FBI's pervasive corruption and extreme politicization on Joe Biden's watch should send shockwaves through our country and the mainstream media. Newly revealed text messages show that FBI agents knew in 2016 what their superiors were doing to Donald Trump and his team was wrong and potentially criminal. Newly declassified information shows that FBI leadership knew in 2016 they were using a bogus dossier manufactured by a former British spy and a suspected Russian agent, but they went ahead with their politically motivated operation to frame the president for collusion anyway. Joe Biden was at the center of this plot, and it appears he directed the FBI to target decorated veteran Michael Flynn with the Logan Act. An unmasking request targeted Flynn was also made in Biden's name on January 12, 2017. The same day that information was illegally leaked to the Washington Post. Biden has never been forced to explain these facts and answer for his role in ensuring President Trump did not enjoy a peaceful transition of power in 2017. Reporters who spent years pushing Russian disinformation should do their job and make Biden answer for what his administration did, which amounts to the biggest abuse of power in American political history. Yeah, they won't. They don't challenge Joe Biden. What did Joe Biden do? He put a lid on briefings. He's gone. What does that mean? It means he's hiding in his basement. And he's been hiding in his basement for what, the past week and a half or so? Oh, but he's doing debate prep. You see, we got 4 days until the big debate between Trump and Joe Biden. This guy is hiding, not answering any questions, and he was involved. Biden is crooked. I think Trump's got his issues. I think Trump's made a bunch of serious mistakes, but it's hard for me to look at all of this and believe the lies. I should reframe that. When I see this news, it is a shock to my core. And then you want me to believe all of these mainstream media articles claiming Trump did this, did that. Why should I believe you now? The Mueller probe fell apart. It was fake news. And you want me to believe all of the smears you put forward about Trump? I'm not buying it. Let me tell you how bad it gets. In a tweet from Charlie Warzel, who is a writer at large for the New York Times, opinion writer, he says, these Trump Jr. posts on Facebook and Twitter clearly argue that the election will be stolen and are clear calls for confrontation and intimidation at the polls and a rejection of mail-in ballots. Just incredibly dangerous stuff. Do we really think these small labels are going to do anything? I wonder what labels Charlie is referring to. In this post from Team Trump, they say, we need you to join Army for Trump's election security operation. Underneath the video, an ad with Donald Jr., it says by Facebook, voting by mail has a long history of trustworthiness in the U.S., and the same is predicted this year. Source, Bipartisan Policy Center. That is an outright lie. But you see, they're being truthful, but not, they're being factual, but not truthful. You see, when they say voting by mail, what they're referring to is absentee, which is typical. But there is, according to the New York Times in 2012, an increase in failure. The failure rate increases the margin of error. The amount of ballots that get disqualified nearly doubles. That's from the New York Times in 2012. Today, what we're worried about is universal mail-in voting. In New Jersey, the governor issued an executive order saying everyone's voting by mail. There will be some stations where you can vote in person. I did not request this ballot. Why will it be coming to my house? And what does that mean for the people who normally don't vote? You see, what is it, around just less than half of people don't vote at all? So they're going to be sent a ballot, and then what? Where does that go? Voting by mail has already been extremely problematic. Paterson, New Jersey, the best example. The whole thing in New Jersey was the election was disqualified. 1 in 5 ballots rejected. Washington Post, more than 500,000 primary ballots rejected. Votes found in ditches. Votes being discarded. That's from the DOJ. Mail being dumped in parking lots. Universal mail-in voting will be a disaster. And it already is. And now, big tech like Facebook is siding with the establishment. Yeah. Donald Trump wasn't supposed to win. And you've got these people in the media like the New York Times saying, how dangerous. These labels don't go far enough. Vote by mail is safe. The New York Times reported these things. The New York Times recently reported something like 1 million mail-in ballots were delayed or at high risk of being rejected. The New York Times' staff saying that this is not enough. This is a lie. Voting by mail does not have a long history of trustworthiness. Absentee voting by mail does. A general concept of just sending out ballots to everybody does not. And recently, The Blaze reported a bunch of mail-in ballots were found in a dumpster. So Donald Trump says, we've got to do something about this. They say, will you commit to a peaceful transfer of power? We'll see. We'll see. And they say Trump is trying to stage a coup to overthrow the election. What, you mean like they did in 2016? I'm not here to side with Donald Trump if he wants to actually play a dirty game thinking he deserves to win. I'm here to point out that doesn't matter. It wasn't started by Donald Trump, and I don't know where it'll go. But the FBI was engaging in dirty and potentially illegal corruption. I'm not a legal expert, so I'll be careful about how I frame it, but this looks straight up like they framed Trump and Flynn and were trying to sabotage the incoming administration and get Trump impeached so they could seize power. Is that a civil war? Not on the surface, more of a coup. But a civil war when you have two factions fighting for control of one government, and that's where we're at right now. Let me tell you something. I had a conversation with my buddy Ian. You may have seen him on the IRL podcast. And we were talking about what does it mean to cheat in an election? Are the Democrats cheating, or are they just trying to, make the game more favorable for them? And I said, what's the difference? The Democrats are changing the rules at the last minute to help themselves. Facebook and Twitter have said if Trump declares victory, they will flag and remove his posts. The cards are being stacked. Will Donald Trump win? They've even said that if Donald Trump does win, it will appear to be a landslide. But then the mail-in ballots will start emerging. And in fact, Joe Biden will win. That's why Donald Trump isn't allowed to declare victory. And Joe Biden is, by the way. What if the reality is these ballots being thrown in dumpsters, these Trump's ballots being discarded? What if what's really happening is they're literally going to be cheating and forging ballots? And Trump really will win in a landslide. They can't let that happen. We'll see how that plays out. Will the silent majority stand up and say no? The only thing that really needs to happen is some kind of proof that the majority of the American people actually wanted either Biden or Trump to be their president. And the way the Democrats have changed the election, I do not believe it would show that. What I can tell you is the level of depravity and corruption from the left is shocking me. And it's going to get bad in October. Wait till you see what comes next. I don't know for sure. But you can see how they want to tear down our police departments, how they attack innocent people who are just in their homes, and at the highest level, how they would subvert the rule of law for political gain. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at youtube.com/TimCastNews at 6 p.m. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.